All right, good evening, everyone. I have 6 p.m. Posted time for tonight's meeting of the August 1st meeting of 2023 for the Cleveland County Commissioners. At this time, I'll call the board to order. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, we have a quorum.
Next item, we'll recognize Jason Falls, who's going to lead us in the pledge and give tonight's invocation.
Rise and join me in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You join me in prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity for us to gather here tonight. God, we just ask for you to impart your wisdom on this room tonight. Guide the discussions, guide the decisions. Help us do everything to glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Next item will be recognition of any elected officials present.
That's not register these.
Next, we'll recognize any veterans in attendance. John?
Back in the corner, Jason.
Jason Falls, United States Air Force.
Richard Hooker, U.S. Army. Brandon Root, U.S. Army.
Johnny Hutchins, U.S. Army. Do y'all have
Wait.
one of the?
Oh.
Oh, okay. Right, I'm not used to having one up here. Go ahead, David.
David Cotton, United States Navy.
Okay, anyone that doesn't have a pen,
He has one.
you got a veteran
Yeah, me
pen?
Yes, sir.
Everybody got one, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you all. Thank you for your service. Next item is the recognition of any law enforcement present.
Danny Howell, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office.
And next, we'll recognize county department heads.
Carrie Melton, Assistant County Manager.
Chris Waters, Main Office.
Martha Thompson, Legal Department.
Tiffany Hanson, Health Department. Rebecca Johnson, DSS.
Allison Mooney, Human Resources.
Jason Falls, Business Development Director.
Colt Farrington, Building Inspection.
Sherry Lavender, Tax Office.
Sandra Orvid, Registered Director.
Under Main.
Thank you all for all that you do. First item is to adopt tonight's proposed agenda. Commissioners, before you have the proposed agenda, are there any changes, additions, or amendments to the agenda? If not, I entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion or questions? Hear none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed will say no. First item on the agenda, special recognition, Youth Voice. We'll have Alexia Burlage.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Alexia Burlog. I'm a sophomore at East Lincoln High School. I've participated in the Cleveland County 4-H Club for 6 years. The 4-H pledge states that we are to use our head for clearer thinking, our heart for greater loyalty, our hands for larger service, and our health for better living. In my time as a 4-H member, I've learned the meaning of this pledge through the different projects I've been involved in, such as the Dairy Steer Project, the Turkey Project, and shooting sports. All of these have helped me to develop some of the skills necessary to better my club, its members, and my community. I currently use these skills in the daily operation of my family farm, and I also plan to use them to become a doctor of veterinary medicine through NC State University. I also plan to be able to put these skills to good use and better my club, starting with bettering my club. To further its membership growth and sharing what I've learned with others. I would like more membership engagement and more opportunities for kids who have not been exposed or are not currently involved in agri-science, the chance to explore any interest they may have in working with animals and learning about agriculture and the important impact it has on the community. I believe that if we can make 4-H more inclusive and get more people involved, then we will be able to usher in the next generation of farmers and leaders that will shape this nation. Thank you for your time. Please consider me to be a delegate for Youth Voice so that I may work with leaders in bringing this goal to reality.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, do you have any comments or questions?
Just appreciate you being involved in 4-H. My grandchildren are involved in 4-H, and a couple of weekends ago, I learned how to wash a chicken, give it a bath. And I'm gonna get to help my grandchildren practice that in a couple of weeks, and then we're gonna go to a chicken showing, and I'm sure that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a couple of weeks ago too also that there in the Oak Grove area, they got a farmer's camp,
A farmer's camp?
some kind of farmer's camp.
Yeah.
And this young kid was talking to his mother, and he wanted to tell me the different parts of a goat. And he had a big dog with him, and he took that dog and pointed out the different parts of a goat he had learned that weekend in camp. Hey, do we have just a county pen that anybody's got we could give her?
Commissioners, when you're done, if you want to stand up, because I believe you'll be at the NCAC Youth Voice at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So we can get a picture with her,
Yeah, sure. You want us back here or up there?
whatever the board would prefer.
It's probably better down there for some of them.
Yes, I did, that's all right.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. Madam Clerk.
The public comment portion of a Board of Commissioners meeting is an opportunity for persons wishing to appear before the board to do so. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which they signed up to speak and will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. Speakers will address the board from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating your name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any promptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation and are prohibited from using profanity or making threats of violence or personal attacks against any person. All comments from the speakers shall be issue-oriented and directly related to a subject that the commissioners have oversight and authority. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to address the board. A speaker is not permitted to share, reserve, or relinquish any remaining time allotted to them to another speaker. Any comments where the primary purpose is to promote a business or candidacy shall not be allowed. Any written materials, petitions, photographs, and/or documents may be delivered to the clerk to the board, as the county is not permitted to accept external data storage devices.
All right, first person on the list is Eric Newton.
Good evening. I'm Eric Newton, and I live at 2220 Kurt Ledford Road in Lawndale. I'm here to talk about the fire districts between Kaiser and Falston Fire Department. As most of you are aware, Falston Fire Department built a substation in Bellwood that opened in May of 2022. The substation will benefit taxpayers in Kaiser's 6-mile district and areas classified as a Class 10 area. How would this benefit the taxpayers? The North Carolina Fire Marshal's Office rates each department with an ISO rating. ISO is the Insurance Service Office. The higher the score, the worse the fire department is doing to keep the city or town safe. The best score that you can obtain is a 1. So, as a 6-mile district has a 9E ISO rating, and No Man's Land has a Class 10 ISO rating. This would include all of Carpenters Grove Church Road, Kaiser Road, from around Big Hill Road to the Lincoln County line, all of Acre Rock Road, Carpenter Hole Road, Poe Road, Creekwood Road, some of Pink Crow Road, around the 2300 block of Kurt Ledford Road to Carpenters Grove Church Road, the 400 block of Kaiser Bellwood Road to Carpenters Grove Church Road, and from the Lutz Solid Waste Center on Vic Randall Road to Carpenter Hole Road. And there's a lot more roads in between. As you can see, this covers a lot of area, and this would affect a lot of houses, insurance premiums, and save a lot of residents a lot of money. If my house was an ISO rating of 6, which is what Falston Fire Department currently is, that would save my family $408 a year. If a house like mine was in the class 10, no man's land, and they went to a class 6 in the Falston district, that would save them $829 each year. This would affect a lot of houses and businesses in the area and save thousands of dollars to taxpayers. I hope that you would work diligently with these departments and correct the problem immediately. If Kaiser chooses not to work together to benefit the taxpayers, I would hope that you would hold their funding until they decided to do what was right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Suzanne Blanton.
Suzanne Blanton, 1735 Linton Barnett Drive, Shelby. Tonight, my main comment and concern are animal services in Cleveland County. For over 30 years, my family has been firmly rooted in North Carolina government, from the mayor of Charlotte, the United States Congress, and most recently, the office of Lieutenant Governor. With that said, I want to thank all of you for your service, because I understand what that service is. It's not 9 to 5. A lot of times it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. So what I'm concerned with tonight are the animal services in Cleveland County. Years ago, I started walking nature trails to relieve stress, and then that turned into walking 10,000 steps a day for health. While walking the Carolina Thread Trail here in Shelby, I realized that I could just as easily walk rescue dogs. So I contacted the nonprofit group Clifford's Army Rescue. I have to say that I could not be more impressed with what this group is accomplishing here in this county. You should be very proud to have such a group as a resource. They are committed and passionate. This is my main concern. Why are we not providing spay and neuter services here in Cleveland County? It just defies logic that we aren't doing more to reduce the population up front. In this case, an ounce of prevention is absolutely a pound of cure. By not addressing this, we are creating a bigger and more expensive problem. Clifford's Army is already a leading example in animal advocacy in Cleveland County and possibly North Carolina. I'm asking our county administration to match this excellence by including no-cost or low-cost spay and neutering. We can come up with better solutions. We're already halfway there with the support of this incredible nonprofit. So I'm asking you tonight to serve with excellence. I'm asking you to be ambassadors in animal welfare. Make us proud. Help Cleveland County to lead the way and be the best example. Again, thank you for your service.
Next is Robert Williams.
My true name is Robert A. Williams, and I live at 814 East Stagecoach Trail. It's in Falston, but that's an Lawndale address. What I want to speak about is the public comment policy, the new one that wasn't given out tonight, but it's on the notification that I received late this afternoon. And as I looked over it, I saw a lot of extra stuff in it. It appeared to me that some of my research in the past, I believe I've read every article that the Institute of Government has written about public participation and various other things. And I understand that there's an executive order from the governor made in 1922 2022 to improve public participation. So I'm wondering, why did we modify a procedure or a policy that there was nothing wrong with it? What was wrong with what we had before? I thought it was too long and too cumbersome already. In particular, the sign-in sheet. The sign-in sheet will be available 50 minutes prior to the start of each meeting. The sign-up sheet will be collected 10 minutes prior to the start of each meeting by the clerk to the board. Individuals who have not entered their true name and address on the sign-in sheet within the designated time period will not be permitted to address the board unless the chair, in the chair's sole discretion, permits. Now, I don't understand why the Board of Cleveland County Commissioners wasted their time to put something like that in there when I've seen no problem at all. I remember being late myself one time and not allowed to speak. But I was late. Okay, I understand. I didn't complain. I don't believe any, that seemed like a fair thing, and nobody had any complaints that I know of. So why change it? Why add more restrictions? If you're going to improve public participation, you should be making it easier, not harder, to get up here and speak. Another thing was all comments from the speaker shall be issue-oriented and directly related to a subject that the commissioners have oversight and authority. Well, that makes sense. You need to have some reason to get up and speak. But according to the Institute of Government, oh, I'm sorry, my time ran out.
Finish up if you can.
According to the Institute of Government, the commissioners or any agency should not be dictating to the people that speak at citizen participation of what they're going to say. They have First Amendment rights. We have First Amendment rights. What are you trying to do here? Take First Amendment rights away? So anyway, I was just wondering why we even bothered to make a change to a policy that you had no problem with to start with. Thank you.
Next on the list is Maggie Watson.
Let's talk about appearances. To the general public, it appears the shelter is doing its job. Appearances can be deceiving. Pictures posted on social media, pets going to events, the shelter is full, so they must be picking up pets and doing intake. No-kill shelter, vet and vet tech on staff. The list goes on. Appearances. Now behind the curtain. Pictures on the media. That's all they are. No information about the pet. Child-friendly, other pet-friendly, energy level, nothing. They call an event 2 dogs, 2 places. That's an event. No-kill shelter. No kill for room. Yes, they do. They just changed the name to Aggressive Dog. Dogs on adoption page then disappeared to find out that they were euthanized for being aggressive. Who puts the aggressive label on them? There is no one there who is trained to evaluate a pet. How do we have a director and an assistant director that are not trained to evaluate or know how to properly handle a pet? Every pet should be evaluated. We have a vet and a vet tech. Impressive. What are they doing? Are cats still going to the low-cost spay and neuter? After dogs are off hold, are they getting an exam, vaccinated, deworm, heartworm test? If positive, are they starting them on Doxy? Who treats the pets on weekends? The shelter by state capacity, it houses 100 pets. They are keeping capacity less than 50%, but not doing intake, not assisting the county in dire situations, not returning phone calls. You should hear some of the things that they are telling people who call for help. It's appalling. Are we organizing any vet vaccine clinics, any food giveaways? Chewy will give them the food. Why are we asking the public for donations? I can do this all day long. Appearances, that's all this is. dressing in a window, no death. In 12 years, nothing has changed. How is that possible? We have a generous budget, and the building and grounds are above average. So what's the problem? Management and staff. It's all predominantly been management and staff. This was fixable, but it wasn't fixed. Why? County managers, we have a new one. Assistant county manager, HR, the process we use for hiring. It seems like we're on the family and friends plan. Hire family and friends, then look for qualified candidates. Then look at, are we misstaffed in all the county departments? We know each commissioner has called its special interest projects, the shelter, EMS, fire, shooting complex, American Legion ball games, social services. Are they all in this kind of havoc and disarray? What else is being dressed up by appearances and no depth? Why should we, the taxpayers, trust any of you or believe anything that is being run correctly? The day of the Good Old Boys Club is coming to an end. The younger generation and social media will not allow it. My suggestion is stand up, find your lost anatomy, and get busy.
Ma'am,
Thank
your
you.
address? Ms. Watson?
127 Carroll, Carroll Drive, Cherryville.
Thank you.
Next, we have Neil Blanton.
Thank you. I'm Neil Blanton, living at 702 West Sumter Street here in Shelby. I stand to urge council to consider licensing for pets. A lot of what I wanted to say has been repeated by other people, and I thank them for that. But if we have licensing, we can use that as a vehicle to raise money, to put together an organization that will help, and also to put together an organization that will help hire people that can do the job. Empower officers to have arrest power when animal cruelty is evident. The same people, as a landlord, I can tell you, the same people who are cruel to animals are cruel to other people. They're just cruel people. They're cruel to their children. This is a problem that we can correct in Cleveland County. It wouldn't be that hard to do. Yesterday on TV, there was a story about many other counties, many other local governments having the same problem. We can fix this. This is not a big deal to fix. It requires money. Money can be gotten from a licensing. It requires good people, and it requires authority for officers to be able to arrest people who have significant animal cruelty or participating in significant animal cruelty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next is B.J. Zamoya.
B.J. Zamora, 504 Country Club Acres here in Shelby. And I too am here to talk about animal services. I appreciate that you all have hired a vet and a vet tech. I appreciate that you've had nice articles in the paper, but I don't think you really have understood the depth of the problem in this county. I volunteer at the Association for the Welfare of Animals, and our focus is spay and neuter. We are a small organization, all volunteer, and we are overwhelmed with citizens of this county who cannot afford the regular vet charges for spaying and neutering their beloved pets. And we have a huge problem with feral cats, or community cats, as we like to euphemistically call them. Every day we receive calls from people desperate for help. And the first thing we always ask is, have you checked with Animal Services? And the answer is always, of course, yes, we did. They said they could not help. Now, what do these people want? They want access to inexpensive rabies shots, which you advertise that you do. However, I have a list of people who have been told that you're just not doing that right now. There are other things that they need, access to extra food for their animals. One woman told me she spends more on her animals' food than she does on her own. The issues we have with the Animal Services people who go out to collect animals that are found We had a case that we'd been observing, a poor puppy left out in the sun without water or protection for weeks and weeks. Our chair has called Animal Services multiple times. Neighbors around this particular home had called her in hysterics because the puppy could not stand up. She called Animal Services and demanded that someone meet her there, which they finally did. The puppy was so sick, and the owner had every excuse for not doing anything to help the young dog. She insisted that the puppy be taken immediately to a vet, which it was. AWA assumed responsibility for the cost of the vet and that puppy's care, and the puppy has found a new home with people who love her. That's the kind of thing that we trust the county commissioners to insist upon for the county's animal services, that your people be out there helping instead of making it harder to take care of the animals of Cleveland County. Thank you.
Next is Ginger Bullock.
My name is Ginger Bullock. I want to extend a special welcome to Mr. David Cotton. Heard good things about you, and we need your help in Cleveland County. Be careful when you call to report animal abuse, because animal services officers may tell the dog abuser who called them. That just happened 2 weeks ago to a friend of mine who was coming to speak tonight, but he is afraid of more trouble. You are very fortunate that that altercation ended quickly. I have his write-up for you when you want that. So a friend and I went over to the shelter last Tuesday to see if there were any dogs that we might pull, and I was astonished by what I saw. 32 empty kennels, large kennels. Only 39 dogs in the entire facility. Quite a few cat kennels were empty too. Somebody needs to explain to the citizens your version of managed intake. I know there's a long waiting list of people that need to surrender their pets due to dire circumstances. I know there are stray dogs and cats all over this county. I'm going to skip that part. There are dire emergency cases out there that have been ignored for a long time. For instance, Rena Drive. My friend and I were out there last Tuesday. What I saw, I was appalled. For over 6 years, this woman has been calling Animal Services. Let's just call her Pam. Her neighbor has dogs running wild, breeding over and over. Currently, there are about 20 adult dogs and at least that many puppies. These puppies have bellies full of worms and parasites. Some are covered in ringworm. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's a fungus. It's like having athlete's foot or jock itch all over your body, and it's contagious. All of these animals are still intact, so breeding and inbreeding never stop. Pam and her family are desperate for help. She has no idea how many times she has called Animal Services over the years, but she does know she has called at least 3 times over the last 6 months. When Animal Services finally shows up, they usually go to Fred's house, but he's never home or he doesn't answer. Multiple officers have told Pam and her family multiple times that they had an agreement with Fred to pick up 2 to 3 dogs a week because he does not want them, he never has, and he never will. Now they're telling us they need to find Fred and get an agreement drawn up, which makes absolutely no sense. Pam has seen horrible sights over the years. Her grandmother was bitten, police were called, a lady went on Fred's property and was attacked and part of her scalp taken off, dogs killed, and 2 neighbors' dogs. Dogs are constantly hit by cars and left up and down the road. 1 puppy died on her porch. The others died in her yard. Multiple of dogs, these are her words, multiple of dead dogs became food for the ones running around. It was a terrible sight to see. I have 3 children, and I have to check the yard and road before they come outside. I'm sorry. Can you imagine having to explain that to your children? Can you imagine it? I'm sorry. She needs help. I have a lot more, but my time is up. Animal Services finally did go out, but they didn't take a dog. They're still there. I have some ideas for you if you're interested later.
You have that statement you were talking about?
Yes, it's in my clipboard. I'll
We'll
get
get
it.
it.
I'm sorry, it's upsetting. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is, where are we at? The consent agenda. This time I'll recognize our county manager. Before you do that, David, I'd like to welcome you here, and I'm sure other commissioners would say the same. We are looking for good things. Welcome you to the dais. And I'd also like to extend our appreciation to Todd Carpenter during his time as the interim and leading us through that transition. So again, welcome, and next item on the agenda is yours, consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, if it pleases the board, the first item under consent agenda is a budget transfer. These are internal transfers contained within individual departments. No budget amendments attached to those. Next is a library budget amendment from Friends of the Library for supplies and materials for a bookmobile. The donation amount is $20,000. Next is an insurance settlement for a totaled undercover vehicle. The plan is for the proceeds to be put back in the sheriff's office to purchase a replacement vehicle. Next is tax administration late application for exemptions. We had 3 property owners that have qualifying exemptions that have been requested. They simply missed the deadline. The 3 exemptions are 2 elderly and/or disabled, and 1 is a disabled veteran. The total fiscal impact is roughly $557 annually. Next is tax administration, our annual settlement and order to collect. This is a combination request for approval of the settlement for current and delinquent taxes for fiscal year ending June 30 of 2023. And also the order to collect, which is our statutory vehicle authorizing the tax collector to utilize all available legal remedies to satisfy the outstanding tax balances for the previous 10 fiscal years, that being 2013 through 2023. And then the last item is a request or a call to a public hearing for September 5th of 23. That's for rezoning case 23-18. The petitioners are requesting to rezone 106 Drum Road here in Shelby to from residential to neighborhood business conditional use for a telecommunication tower. I would recommend approval of the consent agenda for those routine business items as presented.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, we've been presented the consent agenda. Are there any discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed will say no. Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. We do have one public hearing tonight for economic development. So at this time, Madam Clerk.
After the public hearing has been opened, citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which they signed up to speak and will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. Speakers will address the board from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating their true name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. A public hearing is not intended to require the board to answer any promptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. All comments from the speaker shall be directly related to the subject of the public hearing. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes to address the board. A speaker is not permitted to share, reserve, or relinquish any remaining time allocated to them to any other speaker.
All right, this time I recognize Deputy County Attorney Martha Thompson to come forward and to present Project Sunrise, and you can introduce anyone else that you need to during your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we're here tonight about a sale of county-owned property for the purposes of economic development. And this is 107 acres that's off of Leadership Drive that the county has owned for about 12 years. And we have been utilizing a Attorney Jim Wren from the firm of Smith Anderson, who is one of the state's leading experts, attorneys in the area of economic development for local government purposes under the statutory scheme, and he has been very instrumental in helping us negotiate and prepare the purchase and sale agreement that we would like to propose to you tonight. This is called Project Sunrise, and I would like to do two things. One, I have copies of the draft purchase and sale agreement with me, and I would like to hand that up for each of y'all, and then I would like to invite Mr. Wren to come up and present to you.
Jim, if you want to come on up.
It's in there.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Floor is yours.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners. As Martha stated, I'm presenting on the purchase agreement for Project Sunrise. As you all know, economic development contracts are governed by North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1. Under that statute, local governments may acquire, develop, and sell real property for the purpose of economic development. And you have two things before you tonight. One is to consider the approval of the sale of land consisting of approximately 107 acres located east of Leadership Drive in Shelby to Project Sunrise. And in connection with that, the statute requires that you determine the probable average hourly wage to be paid to workers by the business to be located on the property, and also determine the fair market value of the interest subject to the repurchase option as contained in the contract as required by the general statute. The property is two parcels east of Leadership Drive off of Farmville Road, and it doesn't show up particularly good there, but you see the property outline here. This is a small tract, and then this is a larger tract. Altogether, it's about 104 acres. As was stated earlier, the county purchased the property in 2011 for the purpose of economic development, and we had Scott Hadley of Lee and Associates perform a market analysis of the property, and he expected the property to sell in the range of $22,500 per acre, which is the purchase price in the contract. Project Sunrise would like to purchase the property to construct an industrial facility for the manufacturing of composite external insulation products for power transmission and distribution. The company employs over 1,700 associates worldwide with operations in approximately a dozen countries. The company's anticipated total capital investment over 5 years would be approximately $118,254,425. The investment in real property is estimated to be $67,954,425, and the investment in personal property, machinery, equipment, and the like is $50,300,000. During the 5-year ramp-up period, the company plans to create 134 new jobs. The estimated average annual wage is $45,770. This equates to $22 an hour, and we've worked with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina to get this information. This was all in information that's been provided both to EDPNC and to the county. As I mentioned a moment ago, the purchase price per acre is $22,500, and that's prorated for any partial acres in the land, and it excludes any land dedicated for public use as part of any subdivision. The company, one of the requirements in the contract is the company must obtain during the due diligence period economic development incentives from both the state, the county, and the city of Shelby suitable to the company. And that's a requirement that cuts both ways in the contract. The company makes that a condition of closing, and we also make it a condition of closing that both the state, the county, and the city are satisfied with the deal with the company. So if we're not obligated to sell the property unless we're satisfied with the incentive deal. Part of the county and city incentives will be an incentive of $3,590,400 to be used to reimburse the company for costs incurred in clearing and grading the site. And this would be, again, a joint city and county incentive. There's a repurchase option in the contract that if the company doesn't perform and actually start construction on the property within 270 days following closing, the county may repurchase the property from the company for the purchase price. So that way they just don't buy the property and sit on it and not move forward with the economic development plans. So the action items that I believe are in the staff report are to approve the sale of the property to Project Sunrise. And in connection with that, you also, under the statute, need to determine that the probable average hourly wage to be paid to workers by the company is $22 per hour. You would also need to determine that the sales price is equivalent to the fair market value, and that amount is $22,500 per acre. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the contract.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Board, do you have any questions
Yes, I
for
do. I
either
got
council?
one, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
You said that with the sale of the property minus any public right away, or you talking about if they put roads inside that property for their use would not be public?
Right, it would have to be a public, something public, dedicated to the public, and
So there's nothing there that's gonna be public within the 107 acres?
not that I'm aware of. So in other words, if there were, hypothetically, if there were a sewer lift station that were put on that property that was dedicated to the city of Shelby, that could be the type of thing that would be exempted from the purchase price.
Sure, thank you.
I'm not aware of anything specifically, though.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Thank you.
Do you have anything else for presentation before we open the public hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Just two things. One, this sale was in conjunction with the city of Shelby and the project that we're working on, but the city of Shelby owns half of the property, so that's part of what's going on. But also, our county economic development organization was instrumental in bringing this particular buyer to us. And Brandon Roop is here tonight and has been very instrumental in pulling this together. So I want to be sure you all are aware of that and recognize his efforts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, any questions or discussion from the board before we open the public hearing? All right, hearing and seeing none, at this time, we'll open the public hearing, and we have one name, Mr. Williams.
I didn't have a clue what Operation Sunrise, Project Sunrise was. So I signed up. I didn't know what the program was. But you have to sign up to be able to speak. So I signed up to be able to speak and hear what the presentation was. And I think for the most part, it sounded like a good idea. Until I did a little math here. Maybe I'm wrong, but 22,000, I figured 22,000 per acre and 100 acres comes up to about $2.2 million. That's just rough figure, rough calculating. Now, we're gonna give a $3.5 million incentive. That's much for clearing and grading. That's much more than the cost of the property. Did I miss something in my arithmetic? Why would we want to give somebody an incentive that's a time and a half more than we getting for the property? I just don't understand it. Maybe somebody has some answers. I don't. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anybody wishing to speak on this topic that may not have had a chance to sign up? All right, seeing none at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any other questions or comments?
I guess just a comment. I think that looking at the property, we've had it for what we're selling it for, even with the incentive to clear it, with the investment that they're gonna make. and the jobs they're gonna create, and the lot, okay. Now, can you hear me? Can we
Closer.
start over?
Closer.
Okay. With the amount of dollars we're selling the property for, even with the incentive in dividing it into half with the city of Shelby, I think for their investment, for the tax investment that we will return, it won't take, what, 5, 6 years to recoup it? I'm looking at you, Brandon, you shake your head. Yeah, probably less than that, so, and two, there's several hundred people that's gonna have jobs at $22 an hour that can help them and increase their living standards. So, you know, I think that it's gonna be a good move, and when it comes to the point, I will make a motion to do it, so.
All right, anybody else?
I agree, we need more higher paying jobs, and I think that, the risk that we're taking is worth the gain we're gonna see.
And if everybody's in agreement, I'll say.
Let's ask one question first. Mr. Wren, can one motion include all three of those, or do you prefer that there be three individual motions?
I think it can be one motion, and we
Just
got.
state all three.
And we prepared a resolution. I think you have seen
We saw
that
it.
if you just adopt that resolution, I think that will take care of the issue.
Just make sure your motion's clear to
I'll make a motion.
approve the
that we
resolution, which
I will
accounts
make
for
a
all three of
motion
those.
that we adopt the resolution to approve the sale and the grading cost.
Right, so, thank you.
All three, yeah.
Include the sale, and also find that the average probable hourly wage is $22 an hour, and that the fair market value of the property is $22,500 per year.
That's your motion.
That's my motion.
Did you get that, Madam Clerk?
And I'll second.
You second that? All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed will say no. All right, motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda is board appointments. We have one tonight, so this is the Cleveland County Planning Board. Madam Clerk?
Board, you have the list of applicants in front of you. At this time, you will need to appoint one person for a 3-year term set to expire June 30th, 2026.
I would like to make a motion that we appoint Noah Saldo.
I second that.
All right, a motion to reappoint, right? He's serving now, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Reappoint
It's a reappoint.
Noah Saldo to the Planning Board. All those, any questions or discussion? All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. All right, motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, sir.
On to the next item is closed session. Commissioner Whitstein?
All right, Mr. Chairman, move that we go into closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of the state of North Carolina and of this United States, or not consider a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, condition of appointments, or conditions of initial employment for an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee. Closed session to pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. The public body may consider and give instruction to an attorney concerning the handling or settlement of a claim, judicial action, mediation, arbitration, or administrative procedure.
So that's your motion to go into closed session? Correct?
Correct.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that passed unanimous, so now the board's in closed session, and we will convene in the conference room. you in attendance in the record, the board gave direction to staff as to personnel matters and consulted with and gave direction to legal counsel about handling of a claim. With that, we're at end of the agenda. So commissioners, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Just like to welcome David again.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got you a long meeting right off the bat.
Got you started out right.
Sheriff, point of order, do you not want to do this?
What?
Make a motion to come back into open session.
We did that in there, y'all?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and the one thing, I think most everybody here knows it, but since we got a camera, on Saturday, we'll have a 7th inning stretch, which starts our American Legion for the county. So if you've not planned to be there on Saturday, then we invite you all to come out Saturday around the court square.
On the 5th.
So it's probably too late for anyone to get there tonight, but tonight was National Night Out for law enforcement, both in Shelby and Kings Mountain.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be over by the time we get out of here, so just remember our law enforcement, especially, they're out protecting and serve, and what recently happened to one of our law enforcement county deputies here in the county, so.
I went by the Kings Mountain Farmers Market Saturday morning, looked like they're doing real well.
Seems to be that way.
Seems
to be that way. All right, staff, anybody got anything to say? All right, with that, then, before we accept a motion to adjourn, everybody remember that the next meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Commissioners will be held on Tuesday, September the 5th at 6 p.m. here in the Commissioners' Chambers. With that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.